Hi guys, and will be the watch along for the second stage of La Volta Comunitat Valenciana. It's going to be quite a good was the queen stage of this race with a very strong hilltop finish, very punchy, not super long but extremely steep. So that will be extremely entertaining to watch. Um, just started this live a few minutes before the start of the race, of the stage today, because I want to just go back on what happened yesterday with Binyam Girmay's extremely successful victory yesterday. I wouldn't say a shock necessarily, but a victory that definitely spread and shook the whole, I guess, road cycling fan base and anything to do with road cycling. Everyone seemed to be extremely happy that he won that race because it's a good sign for the rest of his season if he's winning already stages here, already this early into the season. He seems like he can easily win a lot of these sprint races and punchier, also slightly punchy flat stages. When it comes to the Grand Tours, he could very much be in contention for the green jersey if he goes for Tour de France or the sprinter's jersey in other Grand Tours and whatnot. So, but unfortunately I'll be extremely shook if Binyam Girmay wins today. Then that would be the most shocking thing ever. The finish is, I think, way too strong, way too powerful, way too steep. Definitely for more of the punchy GC climbers. So ones that can attack up very steep sections. I think that's going to win. Don't think it's not long enough. The finish, the hill is not long enough for like the pure climbers to just set a rhythm up the climb. They're just not long enough. There'll be the punchy riders who just attack near like probably a few, even hundreds of meters or so into the climb. That's what I'm guessing. Then there'll be attacks. And Mikel Landa, he's a decent puncher. Like he can attack quite well. I was gonna say Jay Hindley's quite good at that, but I don't know. I think Vlasov may be a bit more puncher than Jay Hindley. I think Jay Hindley for Bora is a bit more of a pure climber than Vlasov. It's very difficult between those two who are very good. They're both very good. Jay Hindley so far is a better rider because of the fact that he won the Grand Tour, so I already put him above Vlasov, but you'll see this season. But yeah, today's looks like it's gonna be a very good race. And also I could talk a bit about the Saudi Tour today. I'm looking at pro cycling stats here. And it's Ruben Guerrero that won it. He really looks like he's going to have a solid season with Movistar, to be honest. I knew he was a good rider, he's a good climber, but like a elite climber, but I didn't know he was. I really think he's going to shock a lot of people. Like, he could lead. Really, can he lead the Grand Tour? Maybe not, but he can lead a World Tour stage race. Like a Paris-Nice, a Critérium. He could lead those types of races for Movistar. So, and Betrago, he's very decent when he's on form. He's very good. That's also another one of the many riders I love in Bahrain. Betrago, Davide Formolo, I really like. I just wish he was a bit more of a leader for a team. So I wish he could probably. I hope he goes to a different team where he can be the main GC rider for them. That means he probably has to drop down to Pro Conti's second division or a low World Tour team. Maybe a Pro Conti for him to be the leader of the team. 'Cause I just really like him. I like his style of climbing and everything. And Ruben Guerrero's. To be honest, all the top three right now in Saudi Tour, I really do like as riders. So today at the Spanish race, I'm not going to say the whole name again. It's I'm probably butchering it as well anyway. But as I mentioned yesterday, I think maybe if I have the time and whatnot, I'll do like live streams. I won't make videos, but I'll make live streams like the if it's for World Tour races the day before to do like a preview almost of some sort of the race of only World Tour races at least so far. Maybe if I continue this throughout the whole season, then maybe next season, 2024 season, if this continues, I might do some for smaller races. I don't know. But for now, I'm gonna only do previews for the World Tour races. So for UAE, that's coming quite soon, over 2 weeks. That includes classics and stage races, just so you know. I'm just looking at all the World Tour races, at least. There's a lot in March, so that's going to be tricky. It's a lot in March, World Tour races. Strade Bianche, March, yes, Strade Bianche, Paris-Nice, Tirreno, Milano, Sanremo, Volta Ciclista Catalunya, Classic Bruges de Panne, Saxo Classic, and Ghent Wevelgem, the Flanders, Tour Flanders, I guess. Yeah, now I think the live is, you can have live footage, I believe, of the race. And they're showing the stage one highlights right now. There were some decent moments in it, but it was really a bit boring. But at least Binyam Girmay winning the stage is kind of was a nice way to finish it off. But it was just slightly boring. It was very strange how he won because he didn't have any lead out really. And look, there's the highlights. He had no lead out, and he was able to distance himself to even Olav Koy, who's really like his potential could be like maybe not. I don't know about green jersey because I don't think he'll be able to survive those big mountains. I think he might be like DNF'd. With, so yes, at those big mountains, but he could easily win like sprint races stages in Grand Tours easily. But Binyam Girmay, I think he has the ability to at least survive those big mountains for him to continue and do the whole tour. The whole tour, well, if it's a Tour de France or Giro or whatnot, he has at least the ability to survive those mountains. And North Korea, I don't know if he has that kind of ability. Today's going to be strong ride, big race stage in this race. They're just showing us the profile of this race so far. I'm very excited. It's going to be very, very exciting, this race. This stage. I think they're around 60 kilometers away from the finish. So they're just now doing all these showing what happened before the stage and whatnot. Oh, that Ineos rider, that Spanish one, Carlos Rodriguez, is that his name? He did terribly yesterday, right? He lost time. A lot of those big riders. Well, Carlos Rodriguez is in my fancy cycling team for this race, and he lost big time. I think he's going to be much contention. This is going to be a good race, a good stage. It's going to be between Bahrain, UAE, Ineos. They're showing Mikel Landa. Trek aren't too bad. They've got Ciccone. He's going to be very dangerous in this stage. Don't think eggs. They're just showing every team now. Astana. Is Lutsenko in this race? That's Luis Leon Sanchez. But he's not puncher. I don't think he's going to do much in this one. Euskadi going to do nothing in this race, in my personal opinion. Then you've got Movistar. They don't have anyone for this stage as well. I think it's really Bahrain for this stage. You've got Bahrain, Ineos, Trek with Ciccone. So yeah, it's gonna be a good competitive race, but really Bahrain should be fully in control of this race, fully of this stage. Marc Soler has the polka dot jersey. Olaf Koy has the sprinter's jersey. I guess it's Binyan, but he's wearing the yellow jersey. So for second, Olaf Koy. Now they're just showing the highlights of the first half of the race that wasn't on air. So looks like there was a breakaway that was formed literally in the first kilometer of the race, from the looks of it. And they're all Conti Pro teams, human powered. Was it human powered something? Human. It's this American team, I think, right? Human powered health, something like that. So yeah, this is going to be a strong race. There's they're still only showing the highlights right now of what's happened before they went on air. Do you think that's probably the biggest question I have with myself is whether I should put the sound on or not. But for now, I won't. But maybe at one point I will try it out. Maybe for like a lesser entertaining race, a stage, maybe in this race, maybe like the last one or something. The last one just looks like it's going to be a sprint race finish. So let's try doing then. But yeah, today, now I think we are seeing live footage now. There seems to be a 5-man breakaway. You know what? I think I'll just put the sound on right now, just because it gets very difficult for me to understand what's happening in the stage without sound of commentating. But then let me know if it like jars with the sound, like if you can hear me and the commentating, because that'd be a bit of a problem. But I'll put the sound on because for past couple of days I've really had huge difficulty in understanding who's who and what's happening because I can't. The commentating is it's quite difficult to understand. So I really hope this isn't gonna be jarring. But I just really need to listen because I get very confused. So hopefully this works well. Anyway, I don't care if it gets copyrighted. I'm not going to get monetized for this anyway. No, well, not copyright strike, just more demonetized because I'm not going to get money from this anyway.
When it's Zuccherato, you see the green jersey. Zuccherato at the moment, having a nice healthy lead in the King of the Mountains competition, looking like he's on his way to taking the.
So yeah, this is sneaker stage. They're 52 kilometers away. I would. I'm going to check exactly where exactly they are. 50 or so kilometers. They're going to go downhill and then they're going to hit a climb of about 4+ kilometers. 4 or so kilometers. So I'm quite steep climb. And then they go downhill a bit, and then it's flat with maybe false flat until the very bottom of the final climb to the finish. And most of it of this stage is going to be sadly a bit flat. But there's the final climb, and then there's a climb quite soon in the next 10 or so kilometers. I think it starts around maybe a bit more, like 15 kilometers away.
4 minutes 5 seconds from the peloton.
As you may have heard from the commentating, the breakaway is 4 minutes ahead of the peloton.
The fast guys will find it really tough today. They're there. It's about surviving the first part of the race,
but
which I think most of them have. And then
I think I'm not going to put the sound on, mostly because how jarring it might be for you guys who are watching or whatnot. So I'll just take off the sound. Even though it's kind of annoying for me as well, so not having the sound. But maybe I'll put ambient because it's very good with GCN. You could choose which language, but also you can just have the ambient sound. And that can be quite nice. Also be probably quite nice also as like a background noise, like cycling and whatnot. So yeah, I think I will stick with ambient sound. I would check again around. Okay, so we've been live for about 19 minutes now, so I'll check back again around the 19th minute. It's going to be a fun race. Hopefully you finish at least for the last 5 or so kilometer finish. 4, I think. But yes, I believe there's a breakaway here. There are 2 Pro Conti riders and 2 World Tour riders. Sorry, it's just there's during these races there's also interviews that take place during the same time, and there was an interview with Bauke Mollema, and personally I don't think Balcomolima has a strong. I don't think he's even top three to win this stage. He's maybe. I think his aim is to do top five and minimum top 10. But when you've got such amazing climbers, oh wow! Drop. There's an attack from the breakaway riders. The front one, Jaco Alula, in this breakaway is attacking up this very steep gradient with with the Astana rider following right behind him. And now the Jaco Alula who attacked is getting dropped because he stopped attacking by the Astana rider. It used to be four, and now there's three. The human-powered health rider got dropped as soon as the Jaco Lula rider started putting a lot more power and pace in the breakaway up this climb. So it is Demarchi for Jaco Lula. For Astana, it's Javier Oliver. Don't know who he is. And Zocato is the one for the green. I know him. I didn't know which team he was in, Zocato. But yeah, it is the Astana rider that I've never heard of before that's pulling this breakaway here. And now we can see the peloton here for probably the first time I'd say almost in his life. There's looking at the back of the peloton here, there's quite a lot of human powered health riders at the back and one or two Ineos. But now the breakaway is 3.5 minutes ahead of the peloton. Are we going to see Landismo today? That's the problem. Well, that's what I want to see. Is the Landismo. I don't know why that term came to be. Like he's a great rider, but he's not like it's usually the legends of cycling that get those kind of names. You got uh Valverde, you got the shark for Nibali. Chris Froome, did he have any nicknames? I can't remember. But at least Valverde, Nibali. And then, yeah, if you go further back, you probably had Cadel Evans had a name, I'm pretty sure. And whatnot. But the peloton is putting a lot of power here because a lot of riders are getting dropped here. In front of this peloton have just increased in power, increased in output here, power output, just for a few seconds there, and a lot of riders just got dropped. Because Bora, who's leading this peloton from the looks of it, Bora have a train going on here of four riders at the front of this peloton. Are you trying to get back with the breakaway? With 50 kilometers or so to go and 3 minutes and 20 seconds now left. Do you think? Do I think it's time to start swallowing up this breakaway? Maybe, possibly, just to be safe, I guess. So, as we have an aerial shot here, I do think this ambient sound might do the trick. I'll check afterwards. I know it could almost be like a cool background effect in a way for this live watch along. As now they're going slightly downhill here, the breakaway, going at over 60 kilometers an hour downhill. Jacob Lula Demarchi. As now the peloton are reaching this very small uphill ramp with Jumbo Visma. Who's their leader? Is it going to be Sam Oman? Because I got him in my fancy cycling team for this race. Sam Oman. There's another climber, right? Oh, it's can't remember his name. I got another climber as well. Jumbo Visma in this race. But Sam Oman costs very little in fancy cycling, so it was kind of an easy choice to make. Sam Oman in your team when he's literally the cheapest possible GC contender. As now we can see is Bora and Jumbo Visma have created two separate trains here at the front of this peloton. Slowly closing the gap to the breakaway here. Now they're around 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Very slowly, but surely. Yeah. The way things are going, I'd say is about another hour. It's 47 kilometers left, and the finish is quite steep, and there's also another steep part. So in just over an hour, I'd say. I would say around 4:45-ish, 4:30, between 4:30 and 4:45 this finishes. But interesting part of this race is about to start, which is also, I think, one of the reasons I'm starting to really like classics, because the first few years of watching cycling, I wasn't really a fan of classics. I was really only a fan of those big mountains. I think most people, when they first watch cycling, they're most interested in the last kilometer of sprint races and those mountains climbs. And then when you start watching a bit more, you realize there's so much more other entertaining races, especially the classics, because there's no flat, and that's what I love most about classics. And I think most people love that about classics, about the fact that there's literally no flat parts. It's either you're going down or you're going up. When you go flat, it's usually in hard and very difficult surfaces like cobbles or gravel, or they're crosswinds, or it's very narrow roads. It's like a challenge almost. Which is why I like the more punchy classics, not those when there are cobble classics. They're just flat. They're fun to watch because there's a lot of crashes and accidents, but it doesn't really require a lot of tactics. I guess it just requires who's the best at surviving those stages. And I like classics where like a bit punchy, like in Lombardia, the last one is quite a punchy one. San Remo, I love San Remo. I love Milano San Remo. Those kind of punchier ones. I guess the Italian ones. They're quite good, those two. But I don't hate the cobble classics. They're just I prefer the other two. I love the cobble classics. And these stage races, I guess the thing that you really like is the variety in stage races of huge mountains and then sprinting and the differences between the Grand Tours. That's also one thing I really appreciate. They have almost different um, identities in a way, of course, but like Giro is based more on punchy, like very steep but short climbs. Then Tour de France is known for its huge mountains, huge mountain climbing up huge famous mountains. And then the Volta, I guess it's almost like a secondary Grand Tour almost. It's very much there for those who didn't compete in the other two, just to compete in that one or somewhat. Or for a rider who failed to win in one Grand Tour to, I guess, not win, but get their objective on one Grand Tour to give them a second chance or something like that. Or for like the younger riders, it's almost like leftovers of the other two Grand Tours, which is why sometimes it's quite a mix of the huge mountains of the Tour de France and then the more punchy kind of jumps between the two, the more very steep, punchy, short and steep, punchy climbs of the Giro. As we go back to this race, now the gap has decreased significantly now to, well, not significantly, it's 3 minutes now only. And it's 43 kilometers to go. We're going through the town here. Don't know what town it is, but they're around 40 kilometers away, so they're nearing in about 5 or so kilometers. They'll be nearing, I believe, the first climb since this stage has been on air. But I think they've had a few previous ones, yeah. They've had one or two previous ones for climbs. But this one's gonna be the steepest one yet. Then again, as I'm saying before, like this race has those big mountains, like where it's like long climbs, but not very steep, and then you've got other stages like this one in this Spanish race where there's a mixture of both mountains and those punchy races a bit like this one. Even though there's really only two climbs, and it's these two that are coming up to these important climbs. As we see Bahrain, I think, at the front of this peloton here, I think preparing themselves for the big climb here. Wanting to be at the front of this peloton for the climb. Are they going to do their tactic of yesterday and just not attack on the climbs, or just be at, or controlling the peloton and going very slowly and making sure no other teams are attacking, and so it's just very stalemate in the peloton till the end? I hope that's not what's going to happen. I think so. I hope there's not going to be any like stalemates happening. But it is Bahrain. Their tactics do change quite a bit. But it's peloton on this, I think it's just naturally closing in on this breakaway. I think now this breakaway getting a bit tired, and peloton I think are slowly increasing their speed. It's kind of like a natural getting together, I guess. 2 minutes and 45. It doesn't really look like breakaway or dead tired. They don't seem to be like kaput. But peloton either don't seem like they're actually attacking. They're putting a lot of power and speed. This is going to be a strong race. I said this many times, just a way to I guess to cut the awkward silences. Yeah. Still 2 minutes 45 from this 3-man breakaway. Zuccarello. Didn't know he was in that team. Was he like a decent team? Well, because I know his name, I've seen him, I've heard his name before and all that. Was it probably in Pro Cycling Manager? Maybe. I'm pretty sure it was live racing, like real life racing. So now they finally are seeing the back of the peloton here, with human powered health riders at the very back here. Unsurprisingly. As we're still on the coast, the Spanish coast, Castillo de Morera. Don't know what that is, but it's very nice. It's a town that was built in the 1700s. Well, 1500s, sorry. In Spain. Has some history. Just trying to fill in the blanks where there's not really much to talk about the cycling in this race. A bit like what the commentators do on GCN and Eurosport. That's why, like, sorry, I'm just about to be interrupted because now we see the peloton that are controlled by 3 teams here. The 3 teams at the very front who have created trains again. You've got Jumbo-Visma, Bora, and Bahrain at the front. Oh wow, that's some of the Bahrain riders. There's some of the Bahrain riders cut through the road and took a shortcut there. It was a good tactic to get to the front of the peloton with your team. As Ineos riders also, a lot of riders are now pushing to get to the front here. Start of the climb very soon, I'm guessing. Yeah, quite soon. About 3 kilometers, I'd say. A lot of riders are pushing towards the front. As we see Binyam Girmay with the yellow jersey there, somewhere around half in the middle of this peloton. Back to what I was going to say before about commentating in road cycling, which is why I much prefer when there's the Grand Tours. When there's I much prefer watching it because I'm in England. I much prefer watching them on Eurosport or GCN than like on an ITV or whatnot, because on ITV and other non-sport TV channels, they don't really focus a lot on the tactics, on the sport itself, and what's happening in the race. At least they do, of course, but very little actually. Surprisingly, very little, and talk a lot, almost too much about the surroundings, just everything around the race. Like it's and everything, not the actual race and the racing itself. But Eurosport and GCN, you've got ex-legends that commentate and commentators, and you've got experts and everything. Yeah, now 2 minutes and a half now away, 2 minutes and 30 seconds away from the breakaway. Climb is about to start in just a couple kilometers now. Is it for the breakaway? Was it? I think the breakaway would be. As we see, Binyam Girmay all alone. There doesn't seem to be any teammates around him here. But he seems, and he's pushing forward here. Binyam Girmay tried to get. He was around half in the middle of this peloton, and now he's pushing to get to the front. I guess because he knows he's going to get dropped in this climb, so he wants to get at the front. So then he can slowly go down the peloton, and therefore once they've reached the top of this climb, he wouldn't have been completely dropped by a peloton. He would just have gone from the top to the bottom of the peloton. So from the front to the back, I guess. As now, the Pro Conti rider from the breakaway has been dropped. And there's a crash between two Kern Farmer riders, funnily enough. My God. Two Kern Farmer riders have crashed into each other in this peloton. And I think this is the start of the climb here from the breakaway. As the Astana and now there's only two men in this breakaway now. Astana and Jaco Lula rider. Start of this very steep climb, but it'll be nice to see what happens with the peloton. Up this steep gradient, they still are going at around 10 kilometers an hour. Up like 15+% in this rate. There's like 15+%. It's just insane. And those are not very good riders. It's like the elite rock climbers could do 15 kilometers an hour. Not that. It's crazy. Again, I think that's Bahrain, but it might be an Ineos rider at the front. That's Bahrain at the front. Controlling the peloton. There's I don't know who that is. Looked like Michelanda, but also looked like Caruso. So I don't know. There's a breakaway now, or just under 2 minutes away from the peloton. Well, away from the peloton. As the Astana rider is pushing. Trying to, I think is he trying to attack? Or is he just... Or is he just saving himself? I don't know. But Astana rider is at the front of this two-man breakaway. And as we go back to this peloton, is the Bahrain rider who's controlling it. Can't exactly say who it is. It might be Wout Poels. Up this extremely steep gradient of about 15 kilometers. 15%, I mean. And so... let's see if any big upsets happen in this small little incline. As I don't know why, doing this very steep gradient, they're not showing the peloton anymore. Like the peloton are on the climb. We want to see the climb and see what happens. But I guess the breakaway Both of the riders are attacking each other at the breakaway here. Demarchi and the Astana rider attacking each other. They can't seem to get away from each other, either of them here. As finally we get the view of the peloton going up. Looks like that's Wout Powell's. He looks like a big rider, and lots have been dropped. A lot of riders have been dropped. There's a Bora rider, Movistar. I guess they're probably all sprinters. You've got Kea Rural rider. Not surprised. Yeah, that looks like Ivan Garcia Cortina for Movistar. That looks like Olav Koy for Jumbo Visma. So I'm not surprised. The riders have been dropped here because they're all sprinters. Up this 15+% gradient. Breakaway are still around just under 2 kilometers away from the peloton. They're attacking a lot. They are attacking. I guess that's why the time gap isn't dropping, because they're actually putting a lot of power here, the breakaway. As the Bahrain rider still. Oh, and that's Binyam Girmay. Binyam Girmay has been dropped. He has been dropped from the peloton. He's got a teammate with him here. Binyam Girmay has been dropped. Not surprising, really. I'm just trying to make it sound surprising. But he has been dropped. But he's got his teammates with him. So now we have a view from the helicopter of the peloton. As there we see Astana rider. They're still attacking each other, man. They're just continuing to attack each other, this breakaway at the front. As the crowds here are waving them on, clapping them on. To be honest, Demarchi is already 11, is that minutes behind? But the gap really hasn't dropped really since the beginning of this climb today around. Showing the amount of power they have. It's two at the very front. That's Carlos Rodriguez. Right behind the Bora riders. I think Carlos Rodriguez isn't the leader here, because he looks like he's the Ineos rider at the front of the train, I guess, but behind the Bora train, and then Bahrain rider Wout Powers, I think it is, at the front. But Wout Powers is usually very good at this type of trying to get back on breakaways. These Grand Tours, I always see him as like the great lead out for peloton to get back with, to just swallow the breakaway and also drop riders in the same time. But yeah, this is going to be interesting to see what happens. No attacks there from the peloton from the front. No one seems to want to attack. As you can see, Mika Landa, he's struggling a bit. That's not a great sign at all. My God, that's not a very good sign. Mika Landa seems to be slightly struggling here. As a gap is slowly forming in the peloton, and Mika Landa might be caught up in this gap. And then I think that's no Landismo God, why do I even like Landa, mate? I don't know. Why do I like Landa? Why do I like him? He's so annoying. Just blows hot and cold. As a peloton, still, even though there's breaks in this peloton happening, there's gaps forming in this peloton. Gap between peloton and breakaway, there isn't really changing much. Like 4 seconds maximum changed. These are extremely steep gradients. I guess they're nearing the top here of this climb. Yeah, there. Well, the Jesus, that was a very steep climb. As they just topped the climb here just now. Just the breakaway just finished the climb. That is painful climb. Jesus, that's a painful climb. It's the peloton right now. I guess about a minute and a half away from the top of this climb. Then a lot of power is being pushed by the Bahrain rider. He looks weight. Is it? It might be Gino Maida from the looks of it. Doesn't look like what pals now. But the Bahrain rider who's been the leader of this peloton since the bottom of this climb still is near this front. Has this Pro Conti rider, one of them that got dropped by when he was at the breakaway. He's going at -1 mile an hour. He looks like he's going backwards at this rate. He's struggling up this very extremely steep climb. As now there's an interview with Peo Bilbao. Oh, please, he's probably going to be the leader though, because Landismo is so freaking average. So average. I just want to hate him, but I just can't hate him because I just really supported him for like a couple of years. And I want to hate him because of how so, so, so inconsistent he is. As now the peloton have crested, is that the way to say it? Crested the climb, yeah. And now it's going to be downhill and flat. Like kind of like a false flat. Downhill and false flat to the bottom of the final climb that leads to the finish line. So this is going to be about 25 kilometers or so of just downhill and flats, and that is very nice. Jesus, the visuals here of the helicopter. Very nice view of Cala del Moreig. Cala de Moreig. Cala de Moreig, yeah, that's beautiful, stunning shots. To be honest, that's what I love also about Mediterranean races. Is yes, of course, the racing is also really good with the punchy hills, coastal hills and mountains, but also just the visuals are just and just where they ride, where the races take place, like the roads, the general areas are just so nice. It just makes you want to be there and ride on those roads with them almost. But then, of course, I would be dropped in the first 3 seconds of the race, even before the real start of the race. But it just makes you want to be there and at least ride those roads. guess that's one of them. Also, one of the well, many reasons I love road cycling. Just seeing how beautiful those areas are, and just dreaming of actually riding in those very nice coastal towns, country, Mediterranean, sort of like countryside and whatnot. Just those beautiful mountains. I did that once a couple of years ago with the family. We went cycling up the north coast of Spain, Burgos. I think doing it alone would probably be quite nice. Or at least with one or two people, not like a huge group like we had a couple of years ago. We were like 10 plus, probably around 10 people, so 10, 12. Yeah, well, now the peloton are a minute and 30 seconds behind the breakaway on this flatter section here now. It's false flat, really, from the looks of it. So, well, whilst we have this time of like 20 or so kilometers before they reach the bottom of this final climb, things will get very interesting. Now, funnily enough, Mark Soleri's polka dot jerseys, I think he went back out of the peloton to get something, some a gel or something, because he was just eating a gel right there. So probably going back in the peloton, always getting dropped literally. Imagine he gets dropped. Mark Soler, he had so much promise. Like it was like he was like it was like the debate and like competition between him and Enric Mas for like a year or so when they were both in Movistar and all that. There was a potential, but but Enric Mas now just freaking destroys him. So that's kind of a good move from Movistar to let him go. You just realised how average Max there is. How very good Enric Mas is. As now we see from the peloton with Bahrain still leading with Ineos riders right behind. And the UAE behind them. As again in these false flat sections here, this breakaway is actually quite quickly getting caught up here by the peloton. Minute and 10 seconds. They're easily going to get caught. They're going to get caught probably even before the climb. Some starts in about 15 to 20 kilometers, so easily. But now the peloton is quite small. It looks like he's smoking a big cigar from one of the Demarchi in the breakaway. But for a second, it looked like he was smoking a big cigar, but it's just his jam. That was fine. But yeah, this is a minute and 5 seconds away now. Don't think I'm going to expect any Landismo here. unfortunately, even though this is kind of his race. At least the race, kind of a Bahrain victorious race. Funny enough, they're Bahrain, but it's very much Spanish team. No, at least Spanish speaking. I think Buitrago, I know he's not from Spain, but he's from a Spanish speaking country. And you've got Bilbao, Mikel Landa, because Jackie is the odd one out. Got a Mediterranean rider with Domino Caruso, at least. So on. They had Luis Leon Sanchez at one point. But they do have quite actually an international team. Just their two biggest riders are Spanish. And then Italian and Australian. As in bizarre, but it seems as if the breakaway are attacking each other once again. My God, what are they doing with this? There's no like climbing points or anything to get, but they're just soldiering through, powering through here. Bring the gap back up, not significantly, a minute and 15 seconds now, but nonetheless, powering through here. Just bring the background noise back because whenever there's like a interview going on at the same time, I just cut the sound. So Jumbo Visma rider Kuhn Baumann. That's the rider I was taking. The other one, there's Sam Moment and Kuhn Baumann. Is he going to be leader or is it Sam Moment? It's a breakaway now. Actually, gaining more time on the peloton here to a minute and 21 seconds. 22. It's just gaining every second. 24. 25. 26. What's happening to the peloton? They're just like slept. Are they sleeping? No, it's sticking around the 26 mark now. So 28. Being led by the Bahrain Victorious team. 130 now. Increasing. Gonzalo Serrano. I think he went back to the car, to his team car there. Yeah, that's his team car. For a second, I thought it was Boris' team car, but yeah, Movistar. I'd say it's a good 45 or so minutes after this race, 40 plus minutes, 40-ish minutes left of this race. 40, I say 40 minutes after this race. With 23 kilometers to go. Maybe a bit less than 40, but we'll see. As the breakaway still around a minute, 30 seconds here. What's happening? Where are they right now? So yeah, it's a bit false flat, up and down-ish. Up and down until about 5 or so kilometers to the front. I mean, 5 or so kilometers to the bottom of the climb. And now they're just showing all the riders in the Bahrain Victorious team, which is stacked. It is a Grand Tour team that they have in this race. They always do that for like these small stage races. Not small, but not big stage races like this and other Spanish stage races and Italian ones, Mediterranean stage races. They always bring their A team. It's clearly very cold there. Even though it's very sunny over there, it's very cold with these riders. Their legs are shaking. That's Carlos Rodriguez for Ineos. There he has a very. I really love the Spanish championship shirt. Champion shirt. I remember just putting one of my favorites. It's very simple, but I just like the red, yellow, and red. And he it's very nice. Bahrain here at the front still, the whole team controlling the peloton. But not the gap isn't decreasing very much. 21 kilometers to go, 1.5 minutes ahead of the peloton. It is doable. It's very difficult to do, but it is doable. Yeah, Bahrain and Ineos really at the front. There's like trains forming, it's just a train after a train after a train after a train. Going back to basics here. The front is Bahrain, and you had Ineos, and then you had Jumbo, and then I think you had UAE. And you had Movistar at the very back of the peloton because they aren't focusing on this race. I guess they're focusing on Saudi Tour with fuck, what's his name? Ruben Guerrero. So yeah, it's gonna be strong finish near the end. Still a while to go. Finish. I'm looking at the final 3 kilometers here. Strong gradients. Be an attack there, or the Bahrain riders pulling on the peloton here. Is that Lutsenko? For Astana there, they're just showing Lutsenko, I believe, as the riders ride out of the town. 20-kilometer mark left. This could be done around about half an hour. So I'm gonna push and say, I predict who's gonna win this race. Well, this stage. The one who wins the stage wins the race. Maybe there's maybe 1 or 2 days where that could change. But I'm gonna go for. I want it to be Landa, of course, but if I had to be reasonable and honest, it won't be Landa. Personally, I would say it would be. Just might be Per Bilbao. Maybe Per Bilbao. But I don't know. Could be Ineos. It could be. I have to go back on the start list. I kind of forgot some of this riders in this. So it could be Vlasov. It could be Timon Arensman. Completely forgot Arensman was in this race. I completely forgot Vlasov was in this race. It could be Brendan McNulty. Completely forgot he was in this race. It could be Ciccone. There's some lot of potential winners here. No, Lutsenko isn't in the Astana team in this race. There's a lot of potential winners here. Per Bilbao, one of them as well. And you've got some others like Theo Gegenhardt, Carlos Rodriguez, Mark Soler, but they're not sure. Rafael Maika, Leonard Kemna, Sam Oman. Kenny Ellison, the Monema. Because I've not even seen or heard of Kenny Ellison so far in this race. As now the peloton are 1 minute and 10 seconds behind the breakaway. They're closing the gap. The gap is being closed. Not drastically, but it is being closed nonetheless. They're about 18 kilometers away now. There's just some false flats, some tiny, very small climbing gradients at like 3-4% for ramps, like the one I think they're on now. The peloton, at least. I think they're on the one that's around not that steep. From what I'm seeing, Michelanda's at the very back of this Bahrain train. Per Bilbao is in front. I think it goes Gino Maida, Damiano Caruso, Wout Poels, Per Bilbao, and Michelanda. As this breakaway, they still have a lot of drive. That's something they definitely have in this stage. It's a lot of determination, drive. You know, they know they're going to get caught. Just a matter of time. But they're not letting it go. It's peloton. Not much is happening. 16.8k to go. reaching another town. There's the Astana rider pulling on this breakaway, two-man breakaway. De Marchi, Javier Romeo, Oliver. I'm guessing it's Spanish, so you have to say it in that way. Minute and 10 seconds still around. Peloton and breakaway. Come on, let's see some action. As now we see the Peloton. They seem to be a lot closer than a minute and 10 seconds, but there's Bahrain, with I guess that's still Gino Maida pulling. I believe it's what pulls right behind Gino Maida because the guy who's right behind Gino Maida is very tall, really big. As it looks like they're what has happened? While they cut away on the breakaway, it seems like there's been some kind of miniature attack from two Bahrain riders for no reason. Now they're getting joined back again, and Pedro Bilbao a bit laughing there, because he was one of them, I believe, who tried to attack. It was a Gino Maida one of the two. The little chuckle there from him, realizing how probably useless that move was, or idiotic even. But this peloton is still a big peloton, I guess, you know? Still loads of riders from even Conti pro teams here. They're all at the back of this peloton. But they're at least in the peloton. Minute away now. Peloton is from the breakaway. These past few seasons, they really seem to like to give to like let the peloton let the breakaway exist until like the last 2 or so kilometers of the race, where there they get caught up there when the peloton could easily catch them up, like catch up with them to like 10 plus kilometers away, like even 15 plus kilometers away. It's not at 15. It's gonna be interesting finish here. 14 kilometers away. Minute still. So from when we first started watching this race, when it was first on air, about when it was like 60 kilometers to go, so 50 kilometers to go, it was 3 minutes and a half or something like that. 3 minutes and a half. It's dropped to 1 minute, so 2.5 minutes in the space of 50 kilometers, which isn't great from the peloton, but they've caught up with them by now. But this is the last 13 kilometers of the race. of the stage. I mean, today with, I don't think there's going to be a Landismo moment today. No Landismo. Because I just don't think he's going to be the leader. It might be Per Bilbao, but from the looks of it, it might be Landa. He's at the very back of the Bahrain train here. Vlasov is another potential. That's going to be a big question: is it Per Bilbao or Mikel Landa? That's the question in every race when they're both in it. Is who's the leader between those two? You'd think in a Grand Tour, you'd think maybe because Mikel Landa's a big name, so you think maybe him. But then you say Per Bilbao because he's better at general GC stuff. Because he's better in time trials than Mikel Landa. That you can say with confidence. But then he's just more consistent as a climber than Mikel Landa. But Landa's like on form. He's like on form, which is once or twice a year, not like most riders where it's like for long periods of time during the year. And he's on form on that race. He should be leader. Maybe because I think he could easily crush Per Bilbao on the climbs, especially big mountain ones, and the punchy ones as well. If he's on form. Oh, that's a Bahrain rider that got dropped. Number 42. Who's number 42? It's Damiano Caruso, I believe. I believe it's Damiano Caruso, number 42, at least from Pro Cycling Stats. They say the number 42 is Damiano Caruso. He's been dropped from the peloton. Clearly in the worst form of his life if he's getting dropped in this stage of the race. At the stage. This stage of the stage. I believe it's Per Bilbao at the front for Bahrain. No. At the front is peloton, and at the front for Bahrain, I think it's Per Bilbao. Because he picked up the third points for, I think it's the sprint points. The other two, the first and second points, were picked up by the two in the breakaway. Are now under a minute for once. They finally broke the minute barrier. Just over a minute, just over 10 kilometers left of this race, and they've just broke the minute. Because usually there's a kind of almost not unwritten rule, just I guess some kind of like unwritten rule that for peloton to get back from breakaway, it takes about 10 kilometers to drop 1 minute. 1 minute for every 10 kilometers. So if you're 5 minutes behind, but 50 kilometers, you literally arrive you reach the breakaway on the line, or at least very close to the line. Which is why I'm saying 10 kilometers, they just broke the 1 minute barrier. But it is mountain, it's climbing. That's usually when it's like flatter and not as flatter gradients. Girmay is back on the peloton. I didn't even realize that. Girmay is back in the peloton after that climb many kilometers ago where he got dropped. Clearly, they've been going both slowly and, well, quite slowly, I'd say, because they didn't really. Oh, that's another Bahrain rider that's just, he's not getting dropped. I think he's just literally going backwards there. He literally just stopped riding. So, but not because he was tired. He looked more like he was probably waiting for a car or something. It's now at 45 seconds away from the breakaway. They're getting a lot closer here. They will be caught up easily. I'll be surprised if they're not. Well, I'd say around the 5 kilometers mark. Now 40 seconds. As it's the Ineos team that are pulling at the front. Where is Bahrain? Again, a terrible tactical performance from the leading teams. Why does it happen so often in cycling? The leading teams with the best riders, are the ones that mess up their tactics the most. Because Ineos leading, Bahrain have literally no one except for what looks like Mikel Landa. To be honest, at Pompeo Bilbao or someone, one or two. Landa, probably one other rider there at the front, at least at the peloton. I think the breakaway are realizing that they're getting caught here because all the motorbikes are going past them. Because I think if it's like under like 45 seconds or something, or a minute even, the motorbikes are in between and the cars are in between the breakaway and the breakaway and the peloton have to move forward in front of the breakaway. Can't remember if it's 45 seconds or a minute. Another 25, they are catching them up very quickly here. It's done deal here. Done deal. 25 seconds now. I believe that's Castroviejo from that look at the front for Ineos, if he's in this race. Is Castroviejo in this race? Castroviejo is indeed in this race. So I'm 90% sure it's him. He's very familiar looking, I guess, facial structure. Are they getting close now? About 5 kilometers from the bottom of the climb now. Led by the Ineos team. Bahrain again, I don't know what their plan was today. They just seem to just exist at this point, even though they've got the best team. For this race, at least. This is Castroviejo, someone, Theo Gegenhardt, and Carlos Rodriguez. Don't know who's the one behind Castroviejo. And they are definitely nearing the bottom of this climb here. Small downhill, then small flat, then small downhill till bottom of the climb. It's climb all the way to the top, which isn't like a long climb. It's like 3 kilometers, like 4 kilometers. Climbing. Well, the breakaway did survive quite well, but they are going to be eaten alive very soon. It's a good race from the breakaway. 13 seconds away now, the peloton. 12. 7.5 kilometers away from the finish, but about less 3 kilometers away from the bottom of the climb. If I'm getting it right, which I'm pretty sure I am, by around 3 kilometers. Ten seconds now. I think it's a bit irrelevant to see this breakaway. There might be some attacks being made by the peloton, as we can almost see both of them in the same view here from this camera angle. They're 10 seconds away. The peloton is stretched out, but no gaps, but it is stretched. Well, I guess when you go downhill, it is stretched out. Now 50 kilometers an hour from the peloton with Ineos leading. Carlos Rodriguez. .5 kilometers now away, 6.5. With the breakaway literally about to get caught here. Gonna get caught by the peloton, by Ineos. Ineos leading this peloton. Most likely Carlos Rodriguez being the leader for this race, even though he did get dropped yesterday. But from the looks of it might be him that will be going for the stage when I guess the GC in a way, but he's already lost quite a bit of time yesterday. Hopefully Landismo happens. Come on. But it's Peu Bilbao also has a potential leader for Bahrain. There's Vlasov. There's Ciccone. There's a lot of potential winners in this stage here. As 5.5 kilometers to go. 5.5. About a kilometer away from the bottom of this climb to the finish. Now but yeah, they're going to be eaten alive now. The breakaway is about to get eaten alive here. They are crossing the bridge. This peloton, though, has it been? No, I think no one's been dropped going downhill here. It's just stretched out quite severely. 5 kilometers to go, and this breakaway is still trying to survive, even though the peloton is literally on their tails. It's over for them. But again, Bahrain with a weird tactic today, weird strategy. Very weird strategy today. They were leading this, they were pulling on the peloton, they were leading the peloton throughout this whole stage. And then about a few kilometers ago, they just decided to let Ineos now be at the front of this peloton, and now Bahrain are not even near the front of this peloton anymore. As you hear, I'm definitely a Bahrain fan, but especially after a decent performance in the Saudi Tour this morning from Buitrago, third place, I think. Yeah, Buitrago, third place in the Saudi Tour. In this race, it's Castroviejo still leading out for Ineos, followed by Theo Gegenhardt, I believe. No, it's someone. There's someone, then there's Theo Gegenhardt. Who's that one between Castroviejo and Theo Gegenhardt? I'm going to go back on the start list to just see for a second. Might be Timon Arendsman. Might be Lawrence de Plus. But it looks like they're riding for Carlos Rodriguez, it seems. I'm not certain, but 3.7 kilometers away. Climb hasn't started yet? Surely it has. But the breakaway has been caught, if that's what you're wondering. Didn't really show on screen, but they have been caught. Climb surely should start around now. I don't think it's going to be any. It's a lot shorter than I thought. I thought it was like a 4-kilometer climb, but it seems like it's going to be a 3-kilometer climb. And I don't think it's going to be much braking in this group. This race has just been very passive again. No one attacking, at least seriously attacking. No team have really seriously attacked. It's been these past races. Just the peloton's just been very passive. I guess as you get further into the season, races become a lot more intense, agitated, and everything. Because no, finally they're starting the climb here. 3 kilometers to go. And Ineos are putting pedal to the metal here. Castroviejo putting the pedal to the metal. There's only 2.9 kilometers of the climb left. Like, he can probably lead out the team to the very top at this rate. It's not like a big climb. Again, it's just going to be almost it's going to be a sprint finish again on the mountain top finish. Why? Terrible tactics from everyone. Especially Bahrain, when you've got climbing riders for climbing. You're letting it go for it to be peloton finish at this rate. Mass finish, I guess, a group finish. Group sprint. I guess it's good tactics from Ineos in some way. As I believe that's Kuhn Baumann that's being dropped. That is just pathetic from Kuhn Baumann, really, if I have to be honest. How is he being dropped like that? And Castroviejo just dropped one of his own teammates. As we can see Landa, he's at the front of this group at least. He's right behind the Ineos riders. He's actually tried to move forward, tried to get at the front of this peloton, this Landismo, finally. This is nice to see, let's go. But still, a lot of climbing to go. Surprisingly, they've only did 1/3 of this climbing. As Mikel Landa is number 43, so and he's alone in this for Bahrain, it looks like. Seems to be a lone rider here. Bizarre, because Pedro Bilbao already should be up there. Helping him at least. 2 kilometers to go. 2.1 to be exact. As the group is thinning out, surprisingly. The group is slowly thinning out, but I think they've kind of reached a stagnant pace, I guess. Here, final 2 kilometers now. Landa is right behind Carlos Rodriguez's wheel. Surely that's a sign of an attack to come. To be honest, Landa doesn't need to attack. It's Carlos Rodriguez that needs to attack. Because he's lost quite a lot of time. So here, Landa could actually finish top here, first. At this rate, he's at the front. Jesus, look at that gradient. To be honest, the gradients are at 13% right now. So, as there's an attack from the UAE rider. Is that Brandon McNulty? It's an attack from a UAE rider. And no one can beat him. No one. Absolutely no one can join him here. Ineos are dead. Carlos Rodriguez now is the only Ineos rider from that attack now. All the other Ineos riders just kaput. Carlos Rodriguez just can't seem to join the UAE rider here. Don't know who it is, but can't really think anyone except for Brandon McNulty or Rafael Micah to do such a move like that. Oh my god, he's created a significant gap here. Jesus Christ, that is a significant gap here. As it's a Jumbo Visma rider that's trying to join him here. From the small leading group here. Trying to reach this UAE rider. What's his number? So maybe I can see it's 33. 33 is... It's Brandon McNulty. So it is Brandon. Well, they literally just said it. So it's Brandon McNulty. He was doing terribly at the beginning of the season, of like the races last week, but now he's showing his true colors in this race, absolutely destroying everyone. Kind of playing the Pogacar card here, attacking like that. As I think Carlos Rodriguez is slowly getting dropped from this group here, as he's not. What's happened to Mikel Landa, though? That's the question. But it is a Jumbo Visma rider that has joined up UAE. It might be Sam Oman. I have to see his number at the back. But imagine if it's Sam Oman. My God, that would be so good for my fancy cycling. I think it's a 2 at the end of his number, so check. Oh, it's not Thomas Gloag. It's Thomas Gloag. What is he doing? And what is going on? Jesus Christ, what? He's competing and beating the likes of Mikel Landa, Vlasov right now, I think number 5 at the back. Is that Vlasov? That's Leonard Kemner. Leonard Kemner's the next one to get dropped from the small group. Followed by Aaron Buru was in this group this whole time as well. But I think they've been caught up very quickly. I think they've just been caught right now. Yeah, that attack didn't succeed very well. They've been caught. I guess who caught him? I think. But there's 2 Bahrain riders in this group. I think it was Per Bilbao or Mikel Landa, but there's 2 Bahrain riders in this. As I believe it's still... Oh, there's a huge attack! Huge attack from a Bahrain rider! Huge attack! Well, hopefully that's Landismo. Is it Landa doing Landismo? Mikel Landa with the attack, I believe. That is Mikel Landa with the attack. But he's not going to win the stage, but... Solid attack there from Landa. I thought he was going to get dropped for a second, really, out of all these riders. But it's a Trek Segafredo. It's Bauke Mollema. No, it's Ciccone. Sorry, I got completely wrong. I think it's Ciccone who ended up winning it. That's a great performance from Mikel Landa, to be honest. That was great. That was great. I'm very happy with Mikel Landa's performance there. Even though amazing from, I believe it's Ciccone. Let's see who... Who was it from the Trek team? It was Giulio Ciccone. I think Mikel Landa does at least 4th, if not podiums, this stage. So I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with that performance from Per Bilbao. Was just no so there. I think it might be Per Bilbao third and Michelanda fourth, which I'm not surprised. I'm not upset if they both arrived at the same time. There's Ciccone. Let's see. I think it's Theo Gegenhardt who finishes second, and then Per Bilbao third and Michelanda fourth. I believe. Actually, Michelanda might have dropped to fifth in that one, in that part. But same time, no big deal. The important part is that he's going to go up in the classification, in the GC. Eddie Dunbar didn't even start today. That's not great for my for my fancy cycling team. I have Eddie Dunbar. He didn't even start today. That's very bad. Then a few DNFs, no one important, but Giulio Ciccone with a stage win today. Michelanda with a great performance of his own. Yeah, let's see where Michelanda finishes, if we can even see. Looks like he's fourth there behind Pau Bilbao. But then I believe Kemna might finish in front of him. Yeah, Kemna finishes in front. So Michelanda finishes fifth. But at the same time, Pau Bilbao finishes third. But Ciccone with the win. There you go. Let's see. Marc Soler still finished 14th, and I swear he was getting dropped at one point, like 30 kilometers out. But let's see, you got Brandon McNulty, the one who attacked quite far out, and he finished 11th at the end. You have Kemna, who finished 12th. You have Carlos Rodriguez from Minos. Thomas Gloag finished 9th. That's great. I know that's a strong performance, especially with that attack he took. That was very ballsy of him. Rui Costa, that's the anthem actually. He finished 6th. Michelanda 5th, which I'm very happy with. Vlasov 4th. Pelbibel 3rd. Theo Gegenhardt 2nd and Giulio Ciccone 1st. Finally, like a normal, like top, even 15. That is one I want to see more often. More traditional top 15 you'd see in these types of races. Jesus. Nice to see that change. This has probably been the best so far stage and race of the ones I've watched this season so far. At least the finish was a lot more entertaining than most other finishes this season. Intermarché doing surprisingly well, and Bahrain, Shrek with Shikone. This is it's funny, a good race. Well, tomorrow, stage tomorrow. Let's just check before I finish this watch along. What's stage tomorrow? Stage 3, I believe. Yeah. Well, it's definitely not as climbing as yesterday, but there is a climb. I'm just reading it, just to make sure it's of about 7 or so kilometers at a good gradient and like a 9 average gradient. So that'll be interesting. That's near the end. That's like in the last. It's quite a short stage compared to today's stage. Like when it's between 40 and 30 kilometers to go. That's where that climb takes place around then. But stage 4 will be a big one. Stage 4 looks like it's gonna be an interesting one. And stage 5 is kind of boring. Stage 5, I actually might just watch, literally just. I'll do a live, I guess. But I won't really talk about what's happening in the race until probably last 10 kilometers because it's just flat. But tomorrow and the day after, it looks like it's gonna be an enjoyable stages. Hopefully as enjoyable as the one today, or even more. That would be even nicer. But yeah, I prefer the Landismo, and well, Landa does some Landismo stuff, especially on that climb as I mentioned for you tomorrow between that 40 and 30 kilometer mark to go. If there's an attack, but from the looks of it, it's very passive until the end, so not expecting much from tomorrow. There's potential for attacks to be made and whatnot, but I'm not expecting. It's mostly after tomorrow. I'm expecting some big things happening after tomorrow. But let's go back. The GC. Let's see. Michelanda is moved up to ninth in this GC. I'm hoping he's going to finish somewhere near the top 5 at the end of this race. I'm not expecting him to win necessarily. He's only 10 seconds away from Giulia Ciccone. I'm expecting a top 5. That's what I want. I would be happy if he gets top 5. But yeah, so see you tomorrow. It was a good day. Hopefully tomorrow will be good. See you then.